So we're rolling right along with the Move at Maricopa and Building Healthy Habits Challenge. We're in week 5 out of 6 weeks, and we've had an event each week. Each event has been talking about a different strategy or a different habit that we can work on and start to incorporate into our lifestyle. And one habit that I think we all have the best of intentions of incorporating, but maybe not always the best of follow through, is stretching. So with increasing our activity and getting our steps in, or whether we're possibly training for something like a 5K or another type of race or event, or even just our day-to-day, sitting down in our desks and working, we get tight, we get sore, we get muscular imbalances. So I'm excited to bring in a special guest today to talk about and to demonstrate some stretches that we can all incorporate into our routine and into our habits, our daily habits. So welcome to Drew Saenz, who is the owner of a local wellness company called TeamUp Health and Fitness. Drew, super excited to bring you in for this and happy to have you here. I will actually just let you introduce yourself. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can all see you a little bit better. And then I'll let you take it from here. But welcome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks, Erica and team. I really appreciate the opportunity to connect with you all as I live and work in Gilbert. So this is kind of cool. And for me, this health stuff is like daily practice. I grew up in a very unhealthy environment and have kind of had some chronic back pain and stuff I've been working through personally. So to help others do that is just phenomenal. So I'll start with that today. Is just kind of like why this is important, right? And first off, I think when we start moving, the mental benefits that kick in from us to unplug from our job or our stress or whatever it is are just phenomenal. So first benefit is like, hey, my brain is going to start feeling better when I start to move and get into my body. Second, we want to think about blood flow and muscle activation. So in our bodies, when we're stagnant, sedentary, stuck in one position for a long period of time, our blood flow is not as as smooth as it could be if we were moving. So when we start to do just a simple stretch routine, we're going to improve our blood flow and muscle activation, which is just a good way to take care of our joints and muscles. So it's kind of like a form of physical self-care, if you will. And then we want to think about joint function. So stretching is really good. There's different forms of stretching, but these movements we go through today is a really good way to keep your joints healthy, meaning full range of motion, and also keeping the muscles strong and working. Because typically, within our day-to-day work, we're not using our entire bodies, and there are areas that are overused and areas that are underused. So that's what this stretch routine will help address. And then I want us to think about, when can we do this? Erica mentioned, like, yes, we all have the best intentions to move our body each and every day. We all have obligations and commitments that may be keeping us from doing so. So let's talk about that. When can we do this? And it's going to take us maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 if we stretch it out for the actual movement routine today. So if you can think about plugging that time frame first thing in the morning, it's a great way to help with that blood flow and muscle activation and start your mental health on a good note in the morning. We're not worried about our to-do list. We're just in our bodies and in our movement routine. Mid-morning, like a mid-morning boost for those of you that work early, it's a really good way to just get up and move after a few hours behind the keyboard or on the road. Lunch, it's great too, because it's, we all kind of deal with that afternoon slump, and this routine is not like a full workout, right? It's not going to be like where you feel like you can't eat too much before or after. It's just like, hey, this is a go-to staple exercise that we could do regardless of, if we've eaten or haven't eaten. Post-work day, it's a really good way to help unwind and unplug. Pre-workout, it's a really good way to warm up. So kind of multiple functions here with this routine we'll go through, which I think is important for us to know, because it's not like, hey, I need something special and specific for my workout, for first thing in the morning, for my lunch break. It's like, no, we can do a couple simple movements. We're going to go through 10 today that we can do anytime, really. And then finally, as a bedtime routine, doing mobility and stretching work is a really good way to get us out of that stress, fight or flight mode and into our rest and digest mode so we can then get a good night's sleep. So I want you to think about kind of those areas of opportunity to get your movement in each and every day, your stretch routine, and then just kind of think through when you can place it in your schedule after we do it together today. Last thing I'll say before we get into it is what research tells us about stretching. So there's been a lot of studies done on kind of like the outcome, right? Like obviously we know it feels good for our bodies, but is it doing anything for our health outside of that? And what's been found is it actually does the same thing health benefit wise as low impact cardio. So we're getting our heart rate up at a low level, we're increasing blood flow, and we are taking care of our not only joints and muscles, but also our heart health too. So it's a really healthy activity to do, and it improves the way we move and how our body functions. I mentioned earlier, typically within a workday, we've got overactive muscles and inactive muscles. That's going to decrease the way our body functions, right? So this is going to help improve it. So with that, I recommend to see improvements in our body, doing this routine 2 to 3 days per week, real flexible on when you can plug it in, but we just want to make sure we're consistent with it. So before we get into the actual movements themselves, are there any questions?
No.
Cool, awesome. Space-wise, I've just kind of got an open space here. I would recommend that you can just to be able to do a circle in your area. If not, I'll show you how to modify those, but just do your best in the space that you have. I am going to use a chair as a kind of a prompt in a bit. So if you have one handy, awesome. I would recommend that chair doesn't have wheels, but if it does, we can roll it up against a wall as an option, okay? So with that, we'll go ahead and start the movement routine. We'll start standing. We're going to go through the first one, which is called a neck circle or neck CAR, C-A-R, which stands for controlled articular rotations. We don't need to get into the definition, but let's get into the movement. So palms face forward, pull your shoulders back. We're going to take our chin over one direction and then make a big, slow, full range of motion circle. Come back and retrace your steps. We don't want to push our range of motion where we're feeling pain, but we do want to make sure we're doing our best to get a full neck rotation in. So here, over and back is 1, and we'll go for 4. Awesome. So continue getting those in. We want to make sure our chest isn't moving. Really want to be neck joint focused. When we finish that, we're going to move on to the shoulder, and it's still a shoulder CAR. We're going to start palm faces your thigh. We're going to reach up, 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 up. As soon as we meet some restriction, we're going to rotate the arm around so our knuckles meet our back, and then we come back forward, okay? So it's going to be a big reach up. Find some restriction. If you can't go any further, we're going to loop that hand around, knuckles meet the back, and retrace your steps. And we'll go 4 each side here. Get up, big rotation, take your time. And we've got 4 and 4 on this one. So with our daily stretch routine, we definitely want to start slow and then kind of work into more progressive movements. Good. So that was neck and shoulders. Then we're going to do, we can call it a torso, a circle, but what we do is feet hip width. We're going to cross the hands here at the shoulders, and I really want you to think about pushing your feet through the floor so our lower body stays stable. And then we're just going to lean back and make a circle with our torso, just like we did with our neck and shoulder, and then bring it back the other way. So trying to keep the feet planted, doing a big circle with our torso, almost like you're drawing an oval above you with your head. Really getting the spine moving, keeping the arms crossed. And we'll go 4 each way. And if you don't get these the first time, don't worry, we'll go through a second. Good. So after our torso circle, we're going to move a little bit quicker with the upper body. Palms down, shoulder circles forward. We want to start small here and graduate larger. Not too worried about how many times we go forward. Just want to get big rotations in. I would say at least 10. And then from here, we'll go palms up, small circles backwards. And same deal, we'll graduate bigger. Good. And once you get those back circles in, we're going to go right into some torso turns, right to left. With this one, think about your back foot and hip kind of coming around with you too. So letting everything turn. These are just called torso turns. We'll go about 10 each way. Make sure we go even right side, left side. Good, 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 good. Then back in our starting position, feet hip width, we're going to do an overhead reach. So one side, we're going to keep the hand on the hip. Other side, we're going to reach overhead, push the hip out, and switch. And for this one, we'll go 10 total. Thinking big overhead reach, not reaching forward, but overhead, pushing the hip out, 5 each way, trying to alternate. Definitely a little bit of a coordination game too. Good. And then from there, we're going to repeat that series one more time, okay? So taking it all the way back to the neck circle or neck car for each way. Second round should feel much more smooth as we've already gone through our first set. Still sticking with 4 reps. Awesome. Then into that shoulder car, reach up. Going for 4 on each side. I didn't do it today, but I really like when I do single arm stuff, I like to start with my non-dominant side because it kind of tricks my brain to not feel like I have a strong side, weak side, right? Trying to keep everything symmetrical. Awesome. Then we got those torso circles crossing here, drawing an oval with the head, and retrace our steps back. 4 both ways. So over and back is 1. Awesome. And then we got palms down, shoulder circles, starting small, graduate to bigger as we go. And we'll take it palms up, small backward circles. Graduate to bigger. And right into a torso turn. We're going to bring that back side around too. Thinking about 10 each way. Let the arms and chest rotate. Good, and then we've got hand on the hip, overhead reach, press the hip out, switch sides. This is a good one because if we think about where our hands are most of the day, we're like reaching forward, palms down. So this is almost a complete opposite of that. Plus stretching our hips out. Our hips and back can get very tight as we're driving or sitting. Good, awesome. Coming back to our neutral. So as far as like levels go, if you're new to exercise or new, I don't want to say new to exercise, but like new to stretching and mobility, those first 6 exercises we went through are going to be a phenomenal way for you to get your joints acclimated, learn the skill of stretching and the skill of movement, and not like overly tax your body, right? I think those movements we went through would be good for anyone to get started with. Now this next series of 4 exercises, I don't want to call them advanced, but just a little more difficult to execute. So definitely be easy on yourself if it's like, hey, this is difficult for me today, or you know, I don't move how Drew moves. That's totally okay. We all do this kind of at our own capacity and own level. But again, if you're like brand new to exercise, that first stuff we went through is phenomenal. If you want to try this out too, awesome. Please do it. I'd love for us all to do this, but it's not something where you have to master the movement right away. Okay. So the first one is called a hip hinge, which we're going to start feet hip width. Naturally, when we do this movement, our body starts to round. So like rounded back, rounded shoulders. This is the natural way to bend down and touch our toes, right? Without any intention behind it. So with the hip hinge, we start big chest, bend your knees a little bit. We're going to push our hips back, try to keep a flat back. It's a nice stretch in the hamstrings, and we're back up. So here's the movement. We'll work through 10. Again, being graceful with ourselves on how we move today, but being intentional with trying to execute the movement. Working to 10. Awesome. When you get your 10 in, we'll come back to that center starting position. Feet going to go a little bit narrower. Let's take 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Arms are going to reach forward. This is called a chest opener. With the leg that's back, we're going to take that side arm, open up, open up, open up, and bring it back. Okay, so we're big open. Bring it back from the side. Working through 10 each way. Eyes can come with you, or if you prefer to keep it stable, just gazing forward. And when we get our 10, we will switch feet and hands, going 10 that opposite way. If we think about our chest muscles, those are going to be typically pretty tight when our hands are forward and we're reaching forward, our typical workday position, right? So this is kind of the opposite of that, opening up these chest muscles and activating the back muscles. Good, good, good. Next one is called a sprinter's stretch. I'm going to lower my camera just a bit so you can see my lower body, but what we're going to do is 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. I think it's important that our back heel stays down and our front heel stays down as well. So we're in this split stance where we can bend the front knee. If you have a place on the wall to put your hands, awesome, we can do that here. So we're just holding in this one. I would recommend between 10 breaths and 60 seconds to hold the exercise. Keep holding. What I did want to show you though is if you did want to use a chair, same concept. It's just going to help get into your hip a little bit more here. But same concept, sprinter stretch coming forward with a nice tall chest. You might see some people kind of folding forward with this stretch. It's not wrong. It's just going to be a little bit different. I prefer to work on the hip flexor here, which requires a tall chest. Some people like to work on that front side leg, which will be here. And when you're ready, switching legs. Good. After we execute both sides there, we're going to do what's called the world's greatest stretch. I also like to use a chair for this exercise. You can use a tabletop, anything like that. What we're going to do is we're going to almost get in that similar sprinter stance. 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. Whichever leg is back, that hand is going to go on the chair or the surface. Whichever leg is forward, it's going to bend a little bit, and that hand is going to reach towards your surface or chair and rotate up high. So we're going to come from low to high towards that front leg. Again, this is called the world's greatest stretch. We'll go for 10 here. Similar concept to the chest opener, just a different angle, really getting some good back rotation in here. Good, so we'll get those 10 in, switch sides, same thing. Good, good. So those are those kind of more advanced movements. Let's go ahead and go through a second set as a refresher and just to get the movement in. We got hip hinges for 10. A little bit of a bend in the knee, pushing the hips back. Nice hamstring stretch. This does a lot to activate our glute muscles. Again, working through a 10 here. Good, and then we'll go chest openers. One leg forward, one leg back. That backside leg, that arm is open and big. Working through 10. Remember to breathe too. Big breath out as we rotate. Keeping that front arm stable. We'll go 10 each way. Good. After you complete our chest openers, we got that sprinter stretch. So you can use a chair if you'd like, or just simply get in that split stance. Totally up to you. We'll take 10 breaths with a big chest once we get there. After you get 10 big breaths, or if you want to spend that full 60 seconds, that's fine. We'll go same thing, other side. Good work. And when you're ready, we'll get into that very last stretch, world's greatest stretch. 1 foot forward, 1 foot back. We got 10 rotations each way. Take your time. Big breath as you turn. And then we'll switch sides for our final bout of world's greatest stretch. Good, good. So get those 10 in each way. And as mentioned, I mean, 10, 15, 20 minutes, kind of depending on, your bandwidth and time you have available. But that first portion is really about waking the body up, getting good blood flow going. That second portion with the hip hinges and rotations is a little more about muscle activation. But overall, we really want to boost mood, prevent injury, and just help our body not be sedentary, right? We want to get as much movement as we can in. And these short daily stretch breaks is a great way to do just that. I'm just reading the chat. We can turn our heater off if we're feeling warm.
Drew, that was so awesome. And one thing I really liked about that is you did all those stretches were dynamic. So you were moving through them, and that just really got the blood flowing. What would you say about, if you're picking between just those static stretches versus dynamic, would you kind of choose the dynamic version more often?
I think so. I think static stretches are great. However, I feel like for most of us, it serves a purpose as a cool down. Unless we're doing strenuous exercise often, that active base stretching is more effective.
Yeah, I know it felt really good. So thank you so much for that. That was awesome.
Yeah. Happy to answer any questions or anything like that. Well, cool. Good work, everyone. And definitely get these jotted on your calendar. And Erica, I'll send you the names of the exercises. You can line it up with the recording.
That would be great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Drew, for being here. That was awesome. Yes, we'll definitely get that sent out. And thank you for everyone who came and participated. Well done.